A great question that you might ask yourself, or at least some people might ask themselves, is do you think you're rich or do you think you're wealthy? Now, why does that matter? Let's face it, there's only 22 million millionaires in the United States. There's 340 million people living here. What defines a millionaire is $1 million worth of assets greater than what you have in debt. It means you have $1 million. If you went and liquidated everything you have $1 million. So according to the latest statistics, we're at about 22 million millionaires in the United States. There's about 1,000 new millionaires being made every day. Probably a whole bunch were just made when SpaceX went public. There's also a lot of millionaires that are going backwards. Individuals that had 5, 10, $15 million made a lot of horrific investments the last 10 years and they're going backwards. Having been in the investment world since 1985, one of the key things I can tell you is I've been around millionaires my entire life. Grew up fairly poor, grew up with a very low income family. Sometimes wondering if we're going to have milk at the table or we're going to have food on the table. But at the end of the day, when you're poor, you don't know you're poor because you just assume everybody else is the same way. But as you go through this relationship and you go through a career developing an understanding of what people think is the term rich or wealthy, you start redefining what that looks like. And I won't get all philosophical, meaning that you're really rich if you have great health and you sit by a palm tree on the beach drinking a beer. That sounds great for somebody who's not motivated, doesn't want a job, and decided I'm going to be a failure because I can't become wealthy because I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have the desire and the guts and the tenacity to do it. Absent winning the lottery or getting a big inheritance, you got to earn your money. You got to make your living. You got to make your income and make your net worth grow from your own efforts. So the question always becomes to me is when somebody says, well, I'm rich. And I say, well, what is rich? Well, I got plenty of money. What's plenty of money? Oh, I have a $10 million net worth. Okay, I'm not impressed. What does a $10 million net worth mean? Well, it means I've got $10 million between my life insurance and all the things that I'm doing. I've got plenty of cash and I'm rich. I can do anything I want to do. Okay, well, then buy yourself a jet. Oh, I can't afford a jet. So rich does not include owning your own jet. Rich means you have limitations on what you can buy. You can't just go do whatever you want. You can do a lot with $10 million, but you're rich, but you may not be wealthy. So what's the difference? I think rich is like a scale or a ruler. It's measurable. It's definitive. I think wealthy is something totally different. You can say you're rich because within your scope of the perception of rich, you can do what you want. You can own a house, a second home, a car, a new car, a boat. You can travel. Maybe you sit in first class instead of sitting back in coach. Rich means you have more freedom than 330 million Americans because you're part of the 22 million millionaires in America. So you're rich because you're one of the top 1%. The truth is the top 1% these days, though, have to have a net worth of 10.7 million. So is rich now defined by being in the top 1%? Because if you are talking about rich being the average 1% in the US has $10.7 million net worth, then you're not rich. You're just a millionaire. Now, there's three definitions. There's a millionaire, there's rich, and there's wealthy. This isn't about ego. This isn't about having a name badge. This is about reality, which is as the market, stock market, the Mag 7 go up, stocks go up, AI data centers, we're talking crypto, we're talking Bitcoin, we're talking oil and gas, we're talking real estate tycoons. The truth of the matter is probably no one really cares because unless you're Elon Musk, you're going to be the richest guy in the world. Nobody cares who's number two. I can't tell you how many times number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 have changed positions on who the wealthiest person is this month, this day, depending on what their stocks and real estate and everything else does. I don't really care. See, I don't get impressed by money because I've been working for millionaires and with millionaires since I was 20 years old. But I think there's an important thing I want to point out. Having been around and worked for and invested along beside and representing millionaires for 41 years, here's my definition. A millionaire is something to be proud of. It's hard to obtain $1 million net worth after taxes, after living costs, and truly save and have $1 million worth of assets. You can't count your couch. You can't count your lawnmower. It's $1 million either in retirement or cash, stocks, bonds, or some kind of asset. All right. If I had to go take everything you own and sell it, would you have $1 million left? That's a millionaire. That's very, very accomplished goal. To be rich, the new definition in my view is you got to be a decamillionaire. You got to have over $10 million net worth. I think the average is $10.7 million, the last report I saw. $10.7 million being the top 1%. So being a millionaire used to be a big deal 40 years ago. Now you got to be a decamillionaire. It's gone up 10 times. The amount of the barrier to entry to be considered to be rich is $10.7 million. Now that cuts out of the 22 million millionaires, that cuts out about 85% or more. All right. So let's just say that's rich. Rich is now over $10.7 million net worth, exclusive of all the other little toys you have. In other words, we take everything you own, your shirt, your shoes, your chair, your office, your lawnmower, we sell it all, and you have $10.7 million left over. That is now considered to be rich by my definition and by just the example I gave you. What does it mean to be wealthy? And I'll leave you with this. Wealthy is when you get to the point you don't ever have to have new money. The money, the assets you already have generate all the income, all the revenue, all the value you need to live the life any way you want. If you want a jet and it's going to cost you $20 million, you can afford to buy it. You can make the payments on it. You can pay cash for it. You can afford to operate it from the revenue and the cash from your current assets. It doesn't mean you're a billionaire. It doesn't mean you're worth 200 million. It means that wealthy is the point where you don't really have to invest anymore. You just have your money parked. You have it in bonds or stocks or CDs or banks. But what happens is your portfolio generates more money than you're ever going to need to live your lifestyle. And I would define that personally as wealthy. So let's say I'm somebody with $20 million net worth and I'm living in a $900,000 house and I'm happy and I travel and I have cars. I'm rich by the definition. My net worth's over 10.7 million, but I'm wealthy because the $20 million kicks me off a 6 or 8% yield. I'm making $1 million a year just by virtue of having the money and assets to generate revenue. I am truly wealthy because my money makes me enough money. I never have to generate any more income. That's kind of a definition of wealthy. And then you have macro wealthy, super wealthy. Why have I made this subject matter something you should listen to today? I think in order to play the game of life, you have to be clear on the definition and the goal. And the definition, it's relative, it's important because the finish line to becoming truly in the 1%, my entire career is move, 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 move. And when you finally get to that top 1%, somebody says, well, that's good, but you got to keep going more. And maybe you say, well, I don't care. Well, if you don't care, then why count? If you don't care about your net worth, then why do your balance sheet? If you don't care about your net worth, then why do you live in the fancy neighborhood? Why do you have the fancy car? Why do you go to the fancy restaurants? You go there because you want to let people know and you want to enjoy the benefits of life. And only the truly 1%ers and those that are rich, over 10.7, and those that are millionaires, they truly can eat at the nice places, fly in first class, buy the nicer cars, live in the nice neighborhoods. And that is the echelon of saying I've arrived. But to be wealthy, that's truly a goal. A goal to be wealthy says I now have enough assets and income and a high enough net worth that what I own creates all the income I need to live the lifestyle I want to live. If I don't want a jet, I don't have to have it, but I might have the money to go buy it. I think that what every one of us has to realize is that the perception of our financial well-being is between these two eyes. What I see in the mirror is what I define as successful, whether I'm rich, I'm a millionaire, or I'm truly wealthy. What you have to decide is what makes you happy. Happiness is that internal wealth that no one can either give you or take away. So money and assets are one thing. The definition, the parameter, the barometer of measuring that level of wealth or income or rich or wealthiness is up to you. For me, it's just a moving target. Every day is a new day. By the time I hit the finish line, somebody moves it. By the time I get in the right group, somebody says the group's been cut in half. It doesn't bother me. Every day I enjoy life because every day is a challenge to get every value of every single aspect of life. And it's totally up to me to extract it. Whether it's money, our emotions, our moments, our memories, it's all about what you want out of life. Take care. God bless and great success.